Hi, this is Dr. Vallesh. Welcome to Pharmacology Simplified. In this short video, I am going to speak about the basis of classification of antiplatelet drugs. This topic is important for your theory exam, practical exam prescription writing exercises, Viva and your entrance exams. Now, antiplatelet drugs, if you want to know how we classify the antiplatelet drugs, first we should know the normal functioning of the platelets. The platelets, as we all know, are responsible for blood clotting, blood coagulation. In the normal blood vessel, whenever blood is flowing, always RBCs, WBCs are flowing in the center of the stream, whereas platelets are generally sequestered to the periphery. Now, in an intact endothelium repels the platelets because it has anti-coagulant profile. But whenever there is an injury to the endothelium, what happens is that the subendothelial collagen and various other factors such as von Willebrand factor, all these factors get exposed. These have a procoagulant profile. They will start attracting the platelets, and platelets will come and form a plug. They will block further injury to the endothelium. The platelets do this by means of three mechanisms. First one is platelet addition, second one is platelet activation, and third one is platelet aggregation. Now, what exactly are these three things? What is platelet addition, platelet activation, platelet aggregation? Let us see. Imagine that this is the cross section of a blood vessel, and these are all the platelets. Supposing there is an endothelial injury, what happens is that the endothelium gets injured and the subendothelial tissue including collagen and various procoagulant factors get exposed. What happens is that immediately the platelets will get attracted, they will form an initial platelet plug. So what is happening here? The platelet is simply getting attached or adhered to the subendothelial tissue. So this is called as platelet addition. Addition means simply getting attached, nothing else, no other fancy thing. Now, once after this happens, once after the platelets get attached to the exposed subendothelial collagen, they will undergo something called as platelet activation. What is the meaning of platelet activation? Now, they will start getting degranulated. They will start secreting certain chemicals such as serotonin, ADP, thromboxane A2, and they also lose their shape. They are plate shaped. That's why they are called as platelets, right? So they lose their shape. They start putting out various pseudopods like things, projections, so that they will become interlocked with each other. Okay, these chemicals, all the chemicals, especially serotonin, adenosine diphosphate and thromboxane A2, these have the capacity to attract other platelets that are going around. This process is called platelet activation. Normal platelet has now become activated platelet. Now these chemicals do not stay here, they will start moving everywhere, and because of that, because of the tactic nature of the chemicals, these chemicals, what will happen? Other platelets get attracted, these platelets come and sit, they will get attached to the already existing, already recruited platelets. This process is called as platelet aggregation. The first, platelet addition, where platelets simply got attached. Second, platelet activation, and platelets, the attached platelets or adhered platelets secreted certain chemicals, and because of that, these chemicals attracted further platelets which came and formed an aggregate of a platelet. So this is called as platelet aggregation. If you look at the platelet aggregation very carefully, you can see that the individual platelets, the aggregated platelets, and not the platelet with the endothelium, subendothelium, not that, but the individual platelets are attached to each other through fibrinogen. Okay, so where is this fibrinogen coming from? Let us have a different diagram. As we can see here, subendothelial collagen, von Willebrand factor are the ones which are responsible for platelet adhesion, and after platelet adhesion there is secretion of these chemicals. These chemicals are responsible for platelet aggregation. A platelet aggregation, between two platelets there is a bridge through fibrinogen. As you can see here, this is fibrinogen. This fibrinogen is coming from the intrinsic and extrinsic coagulation pathway. Okay, factor 10. Finally, there is formation of thrombin. Thrombin converts fibrinogen to fibrin. This fibrinogen is the one which forms the bridge between platelet for platelet aggregation. Now, this is normal platelet function. As we can see, normal platelet function is absolutely essential, and it is happening on a daily basis inside all of our bodies, and that is the reason why we do not bleed to death inside. Okay. Now, why do we even have antiplatelet drugs? When platelet function is that much essential, why do we have antiplatelet drugs? That is because at times platelet function can be dangerous. Now, when can normal platelet function be dangerous and under what circumstances? So, this is a normal artery, the cross section and sagittal section of a normal artery with normal blood flow. But most of us, most of the people, most of the middle-aged people, what happens in them is that arteries do not remain normal like this. What will happen is there is deposition of LDL cholesterol and other various pro-atherosclerotic factors leading to the formation of subendothelial atherosclerotic plaques. And because of that, what happens is that the artery, the lumen of the artery becomes narrow. Now imagine in such a such an artery with a narrow lumen, if in such an artery there is endothelial injury. In fact, such places themselves are more prone for endothelial injury. If there is injury there, the same steps are going to happen again, right? First there is platelet addition followed by platelet aggregation, but sometimes it will not stop there. Sometimes the platelet aggregation can become more and more exaggerated, leading to complete occlusion. This is the pathogenesis behind various occlusive disorders such as angina pectoris or myocardial infarction or transient ischemic attack, stroke, all these things. Okay. Now, if we want to stop these things from happening, we have to have antiplatelet drugs. Now, which of these two mechanisms should the antiplatelet drugs target? Is it the platelet addition or is it the platelet aggregation? We should not target platelet addition, right? What we do not want is platelet aggregation to go beyond control. So, we want to target exaggerated platelet aggregation. So, whatever antiplatelet drugs we are having, they are actually antiplatelet aggregatory drugs. Now, let us bring back the same picture. This picture I have taken from Kadzan. So, we can see here platelet aggregation. We are not targeting platelet addition, we are targeting platelet aggregation, and there are various targets for this platelet aggregation. First one is the ADP, thromboxane A2, 5-HT, that is serotonin, and this receptor GP2B3A receptor. These are all the 4 legitimate targets for an antiplatelet drug to act to prevent aggregation. Out of these 4 targets, serotonin is not a valid target here because serotonin is ubiquitous, it is present everywhere. From top to bottom it is present everywhere, it is not localized to the platelets alone. So that leaves us with 3 legitimate targets to act as antiplatelet drugs. The first one of those is thromboxane A2. This thromboxane A2 is synthesized inside the platelet through the arachidonic pathway. We have a drug to target thromboxane A2 synthesis, and that is aspirin. So, aspirin is a drug which blocks production of thromboxane A2. Next, we have this ADP, adenosine diphosphate, which acts on receptor. It acts on purine receptors, P2 Y12 purinergic receptors. We have drugs which block the P2 Y12 receptors, and they are ticlopidine, clopidogrel, prasugrel. These 3 are irreversible blockers, and ticagrelor, one more drug is there called cangrelor. These are the reversible blockers. And finally, we have the third target, that is GP2B3A, which is the binding site for the fibrinogen. We have drugs which block the GP2B3A. These are the tongue twister drugs, abciximab, eptifibatide, and tirofiban. So this is the classification of antiplatelet drugs. We have 4 groups: thromboxane A2 synthesis inhibitor, P2 Y12 receptor blockers, GP2B3A blockers, and there are some miscellaneous drugs which act through miscellaneous pathways, miscellaneous mechanisms. Thromboxane A2 synthesis inhibitor, only one drug is there, that is aspirin. P2 Y12 receptor blockers further classified into irreversible blockers and reversible blockers. We have ticlopidine, clopidogrel, prasugrel. Reversible ones are ticagrelor, cangrelor. GP2B3A blockers are the tongue twister drugs, abciximab, eptifibatide, tirofiban. And we have got 2 miscellaneous drugs, dipyridamole and celostazol. Out of all these drugs, the most frequently used 2 drugs are aspirin and clopidogrel. And as you can see, both of these act by 2 different mechanisms, and that is the rationale behind combining aspirin and clopidogrel, because they act by 2 different mechanisms. Okay, so I hope I have made this topic easier for you and simpler for you. Thank you. Namaste. Have a nice day.